Hi, welcome to my video on the explanation of confusing words and phrases in algebraic expressions. There are certain words and phrases that can be confusing, so let me go through a series of these and explain and help you understand. A, subtraction versus subtracted from. Some examples. Subtract 10, subtract 7. 10 subtract 7 is 3. Subtracted from 10 subtracted from 7 means that 7 is going to subtract 10, and that's a negative 3. Another example, 3 subtract 5. So 3 subtract 5 is negative 2. 3 subtracted from 5 is 5 subtract 3, which is 2. So let's practice. Hopefully you can see the pattern. Let's see. Practice means pause the video and work these out and play it back to see if you're right. 7 subtract 2. 7 subtract 2, 5. 7 subtracted from 2. 2 subtract 7, negative 5. 11 subtract 8 is 3. 11 subtracted from 8 is 8 subtract 11, which is a negative 3. So I don't know if you noticed, but subtract and subtracted from, let's see, notice that 10 subtract 7, 7 subtract 10. 11 subtract 8, 8 subtract 11. Notice they're reversed. Note, using subtract, the order is not changed. It's just 7 subtract 8. 11 subtract 8. 7 subtract 2 keeps this order as it is. Using the subtract from, the order is changed, or we say reversed. Note, 11 subtracted from 7. 7 is first, 10 is after. 3 subtracted from 5. 5 is first, 3 is after, etc., etc. So subtract and subtracted from is, got to be careful. Notice subtract from reverses. B, less versus less than. This is very similar to subtract and subtract from. Let's go. Some examples. Less. 8 less 2 is 6. 8 less than 2 is 2 subtract 8, which is negative 6. Again, notice less, less than. Less than reverses the order. 6 subtract 9. 6 less 9 is negative 3. 6 less than 9 is 9 subtract 6, which is 3. Less and less than reverses the order. Practice. Pause the video and see if you can get the 4 of these right. 12 less 6 is 6. 12 less than 6 is 6 minus 12, negative 6. 11 less 14, 11 subtract 14, negative 3. 9 less than 15 is 15 minus 9, which is 6. And again, note, using less, the order is not changed. 11 less 14, 11 subtract 14. 12 less 6, 12 subtract 6. Using less than, the order is changed or reversed. So less than, similar to subtract from. So notice the order. 12 less than 6, 6 subtract 12. 9 less than 15, 15 is first, 9 is after. So the order is changed. So less than and less. Keep it in mind. Less than reverses the order. Another confusing one is C. The sum is twice or twice the sum. Students get this confused. The sum is twice. Twice is sum. The sum is adding. So when you say sum is adding, twice is a multiply. So just keep that in mind. Sum is you add, twice you multiply by 2. So let's practice. Sum of twice. Sum of twice 6 and 10. So that's the sum of twice 6 and 10. So you're adding these two together. So the sum of twice 6, so that's 2 times 6, add on the 10. So you can see that you have a 12 because you have to do the order of operations. 12 plus 10 is 22. Now notice twice the sum of 6 and 10. So this is twice the sum. So it's the sum of these two, 6 and 10, but it's twice it. So that's twice the sum of these two, 6 plus 10. So that's, we have to do in brackets first, 16. So that would give us a 32. Again, note the difference. The second one, the sum of twice 4 and 3. The sum of twice, so you're adding these two together. The sum of this one, twice 4 and 3. So that's twice multiplied by 4, add on the 3. 8 plus 3 is 11. Whereas twice the sum of 4 and 3. So it's the sum of 4 and 3. And we have to twice it, we multiply by 2. So we do the brackets first by bed mass. So you see how you interpret it if you get it right or wrong. So be careful. Sum of twice and twice the sum is confusing. So I'm trying to explain. Practice means pause the video and work these out to see if you're going to get them right. The sum of twice 9 and 1. So the sum of these two, so twice 9. The sum is add. So 18 and 1 makes 19. The sum of twice 7 and 4. So there's the sum of twice 7 and 4. So we have to add twice 7 and the 4. So we're adding this twice 7 and add on 4. So that's 14 plus 4, and that makes it 18. Number 3, twice the sum of 8 and 7. Twice the sum. So it's the sum of these two being added. So it's the sum of these two, and we're going to multiply them by 2. So that's a 15. We do bed math. We do inside the brackets first, and that gives us 30. So we have to do inside the brackets first. PEMDAS, brackets first. And number 4, twice the sum. So it's 10 and 20 we got to do the sum of. And this is twice that sum. So here we are adding, we're multiplying it by 2. So that's, do the brackets first, is 30. So that gives me a 60. Note, the sum of twice 9 and 1 is different than twice the sum of 8 and 7. Again, notice here you're multiplying the 9 by 2 and then adding on the 1. And down here you're adding them up first and then multiplying by 2. D is another one. The square of the sum of the squares. So let's see what happens. The square of the sum, that's similar to twice. So the square of the sum, so it's a 2 and a 3 that we're going to add. That's the square of that sum. So that's a 5 being squared. So that's 5 times 5 is 25. And what about the sum of the square of 2 and 3? The sum of the square of 2. So sum of that, what are you adding? So you're adding the square of 2 to the 3. So the square of 2 is 2 squared, add on 3. So that's 4 plus 3 is 7. We have to do the exponents first. So note the difference. This square is acting the same as the sum. So the square of the sum, or the sum of the square of 2 and 3. Be careful. Practice. Pause the video and work these answers. The square of the sum of 4 and 2. The square of the sum. So there's a 4, add on 1, and it's the square of that sum. So that's a 5 squared, and that gives us 25. Number 2, the sum of the square of 4 and 1. So we're adding the sum of the square of 4, so 4 squared, add on 1. 16 plus 1 is 17. Let's continue. Remember, math has Very confusing at times until you put it all together. You have to keep practicing. Another one that I find students get confused, the sum of two numbers. The sum of two numbers. Well, let's take a number called 8 and take another number called 2, and their sum means add. So 8 plus 2 gives me 10. And how about 7 and 5? 7 and 5, you add them together, it will give you a 12. And if we take 11 and 6, 11 add on 6 is 17. So that's easy. Add up two numbers, a sum. But what about if you take A above, if one number is 8 and their sum is 10, how do we get the other one? Well, it seems like if you take the sum and subtract 8, then you'll get 2. If you have a number which is 7 up above and the sum of is 12, well, how do you get the other number? Well, it's the sum minus the 7, which is the 5. And C, 11, gives you 17. 11 is one number. If the sum is 17, then this other number must be the sum minus 11, which is 6. So, pattern that you see, if you're given a number and a sum, so the pattern is, if you're given one number, say, called n, and the other, what's the other number? If the sum is s, then it must be the sum minus the n. Again, look at the pattern. If you say the sum is 10, and the other number is 8, then you subtract to get the 2. Write an algebraic expression for the second expression in relation to the first. Let x be the number in this one, or g is the number in this one. So if we have the first number is x and the sum is 10, then the other number must be the sum, which is 10, minus x. And if we have a number, first number is g and the sum is 4, so the sum minus g would give me the other number. Again, notice, sum minus the number will give you the other number that adds up to give you the sum. And practice, pause the video and work the 3 of these out. Practice, we have one number is x and the sum is 11. What's the other number? So the other number must be the sum, which is 11, minus x. Number 2, one number is d and the sum is 20. Then the other number must be the sum minus the d. And we got number 3, we got one number is p, the sum is 9, and the other number must be the sum, which is 9, minus p. Just note that if you take the two numbers here, if you take x and add on 11 minus x, the x's cancel to give you 0, so you get 11. So the sum of these two expressions ends up to be 11. D, add on 20 minus d, that's one number, that's the other one. If you add them together, the d's cancel out to give you 0, so you get a 20. So you can see that p, add on the other number, which is 9 minus p, the p's cancel, and you get a 9. So the sum of these two is 0. The sum of these two is 0. The sum of these two is 0. So to repeat, if you're given the sum of two numbers and you know one number, the sum minus the number gives you the other number. So that will be used in your word problems. And that brings us to the end of that video on the confusing words and phrases. If you like my video, click on the like button and the subscribe button if you're a subscriber, and the notification bell if you wish to receive notifications of more videos that I'm going to do. And write a comment on my video if you wish, if you're a subscriber. And visit my math website, www.mathfullyexplained.com. And 3 sections, me is my degrees and teaching experience. My video section talks about the strategies you're going to use to help you learn your math. And the section on content has the videos and number of the topics and the number of videos on each of those topics. And black font is what's online right now. And the red font is what will be there in the near future. Thank you very much for viewing my video. Bye-bye.